Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Annie's review time, and today I'm going to be discussing everything wrong with Law & Order Special Victims Unit. My Instagram will be somewhere on the screen, and sign the petition linked in the description down below. Okay, so also before I start, Law & Order Special Victims Unit, there's a trigger warning for this video because Law & Order Special Victims Unit is a show that mainly deals with rape, sexual assault, child abuse, child molestation, things of that nature. So those things will come up. So like in my review, those things will probably come up. What else? Racism, transphobia, homophobia. Those are things that are likely. Excuse me. Those are things that I'm most likely going to be talking about in this video. So just to be warned. Also, I'll probably, before I talk about these things, I'll probably have it on the screen telling you like where to skip to or stuff like that. So yeah. Also, spoilers. Okay. So, on with the video. Law & Order, I'm going to talk about the characters. I'm going to talk about what's bad about the show, and that's how the video is going to be formatted. Okay. We're good. Okay. So, the main character of Law & Order now is Captain Olivia Benson.
You're a victim.
Here we go, CSI.
Yesterday I put...
So she originally started as a detective, then she became a sergeant, then she became a lieutenant. So now she's a captain. Olivia, she's the person who's supposed to believe all victims. And that's great, that's dandy, whatever. But here's the thing, right? There are certain victims who she just like won't believe, won't do as much for, or sometimes just like doesn't do as much investigating for. There was this one case where a judge was he was supposed to be helping battered women and abused women, and what he was doing was he would send their husbands to prison, and then by the time that parole was going to be something to talk about, he would force the women to sleep with him, or else he would set their abusive husbands back on the streets, and would most likely end up with the abusive husbands coming back for vengeance. And when that judge ended up being murdered by one of the women that he was extorting for, I considered that rape. And when Liv is faced with this injustice, the woman ended up killing him after he assaulted her. I'm gonna call it an assault because that's what it is. And when Liv hears about this...
So he wanted to end the relationship?
Relationship? Hardly. I was humiliated. I started to cry. He just rolled his eyes, said I was embarrassing him.
But Gina, why didn't you just leave?
She's so focused on sending this woman to jail. What else? Then that woman, she ends up going back to her house, and guess who's there? Her husband. And he's trying to kill her. Sounds like she had something to be afraid of. Sounds like that judge was evil. And Liv is still like, I still don't like you. Why are you trying to send this woman to jail? Take away her freedom. She's been abused for like 20 years. Let's see. What else? Liv and... Okay, another thing that bothered me about Liv was, so in season 10, she finds out that she has a half-brother from her rapist father's side. And so then she meets him, and then he says that his father had pictures of her in the house, and that she talks to the the guy's widow, because her father is dead now, so she doesn't have a chance to confront him, but she talks to his widow, and so she's like, he called your house and your mom picked up and hung up on him. And so she goes, maybe my mom wasn't raped. Maybe she was just embarrassed to be pregnant because at that time you couldn't like get an abortion or use birth control. And so that's why she told me she was raped. That literally makes no sense because of the way that Liv has described her mom. There was one time, I forget who the ADA was, but it was the alcoholic ADA. And so she was going off about how alcoholics are all lazy and terrible people and she hates them. And then Liv was like, everybody Liv kind of like agreed, and then everybody just kind of like because Liv was pretty much like their argument was whether there should be like some sort of like I think it was like a medicine to take away your alcoholism or something like that. It was like something like a cure for alcoholism. And so, because Cragen was like, oh, it's a disease. And so Liv was like, you need to want to make the change or something like that. And so then they all gang up on Liv and was like, maybe if your mom had a cure for alcoholism, then maybe she wouldn't have died.
All right, shut up.
You shut up.
That's why your shoes raggedy.
That's why your mama dead. Dead as hell. What shoes she got on? What shoes she had on her casket? That's why your granny ain't got no knees.
And when Elliot retired, when he was off the show, and Liv broke down in the bathroom.
Elliot put his papers in.
A few moments later.
Boy, if you don't...
Yeah, like she broke down in the bathroom crying as if she couldn't just visit his house or something or give him a phone call. Like, I don't get why they didn't just do it like, oh, Elliot retired. And then she's just like, oh, okay. And she has like a conversation with him on the phone or something. Like, she could still talk to him on the phone. You don't have to show him. But whatever. Now he's back, I guess. So next character, speaking of the man himself, Detective Elliot Stabler. Elliot Stabler. He is a menace to society. He hates everyone. And not in a like, oh, I don't like these people. It's in a very bigoted way. He hates male victims. He hates transgender people. He hates gay people. He hates black people. He hates certain women. He hates everyone. If you are a marginalized group in any way, then he hates you. Unless you are a child. Well, even if you are a child, he still hates you if you are a marginalized group. And he should not be a police officer. If Elliot Stabler was a real person and I was walking down the street and I see him, I'd think he was going to hate crime me. I am not joking. He is crazy. He is murderous. He needs to be arrested. There was one episode they had... Okay, so this one woman ended up dead in her apartment, and as they're trying to work the case, it's like, oh, how did she die? And so they found out that this man was suing her, and so they're like, oh, you killed her because you're suing her. And he's like, no, I'm suing. And they're like, why are you suing her? And he's like, I'm suing her because she raped me. And then Elliot's like, she raped you? And he was like, yes, her and her 2 friends. And so Elliot's like, they raped you? And he's like, yeah, they did. And they did. The girl had admitted to it, and her 2 friends killed her. That's why they did it. But the Elliot, there was a different episode where it was like a what happened? So this guy had gotten shot in his private areas, or stabbed, or something like that. And so it turned out that his kid was transgender. And so they thought that his kid being transgender was why he got shot, or that the kid did it. And because the kid hated her dad, the girl hated her dad because she said that he hated her for being transgender. And so Elliot finds this group that the girl's a part of for like transgender youth or something, and he starts throwing around slurs like nobody's business. For what reason? No reason. He was just doing, like, coming out of his mouth. It was random, it was weird. And then in the next scene, he's talking to the transgender girl, and he's like, oh, it's okay, you're still a child. Sir, as if you weren't just throwing around slurs.
Call the police. We need to call the police.
Ice-T. Okay, now I am well aware that his name is Fintutuola. However, I'm going to call him Ice-T. We're good. Okay, so Ice-T knows Alright. The reason why I said Elliot Stabler hates black people is because every single time he came after Ice-T, it felt very anti-black. It felt very questionable. It felt very racist. And it was like Ice-T, his son was... Okay, now, alright. Ice-T's son was digging up a dead body. And that's wrong. That looks very suspicious, right? But he actually didn't do anything. It was ludicrous. However, Elliot's daughter committed several crimes. Drunk driving, breaking and entering, was on drugs. And Elliot was covering that up for all that he could. He was doing everything he could to make sure she didn't. And I understand, you do everything, you don't want your kid to go to prison. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. However, when Ice-T was like, oh, my son didn't do anything, Elliot's like, are you sure? Like, anti-black. It felt very racist. It felt very much he wanted to call him a slur. It felt very much like he's telling him to know his place, and I didn't appreciate that. Also, there was this episode that rubbed me the wrong way with Ice-T, because there was an episode where Ice-T freed the slaves, and that it was a child slavery ring that they were getting. They got the child slaves from Africa and were giving them to rich white people. And Ice-T single-handedly solves the case and frees the children. He's handing the slaves back, and Elliot is like there for some reason, I guess. But like, it just like, why didn't, okay, I'm not saying that child trafficking isn't real. I'm not saying that child slavery is not a real thing and that they don't get immigrant kids to, you know, it's real. However, it was just the way the episode was. It was just kind of like, is this really what we're doing?
I am not gay. I have relationships with women and sex with men.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
So next I have Munch. Okay, once again, not much about Munch, but Munch, he was just like the senior detective turned sergeant, and he was like the wise guy, conspiracy theorist. And I feel like if you're a conspiracy theorist, what are you doing working for the police? Why are you a police officer? That makes no sense to me. It doesn't make any sense, because like if you are a like, oh my gosh, Big Brother is watching us, the government is putting cameras in our phone so that they can watch what we're doing, and everyone has an FBI agent and all this other stuff, then why are you working for the New York Police Department? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's all I have to say about Munch. And next we have Cassidy. Next we have Cassidy. Cassidy is a very annoying person. He's very annoying, and he's also, once again, racist, probably like a misogynist, probably a sexist. I know Cassidy from being the Vulture on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I feel like both characters are the same. Like, Cassidy could be the Vulture. Like, if Cassidy, the time that he spent not being on SVU, he went to Brooklyn, he became the Vulture, and now every time he's special guest stars, the Vulture is back in Manhattan. I feel like Law and Order is just anti-black. It's very, it's just like, it's like very, we don't like minorities. If you're a marginalized group, stay away from us. Because then it like tries to pat itself on the back with its own social justice, and it's like they'll be like, maybe black people have feelings too. Like, and it's very weird, but I'll get more into that in a second. Next I have Karashi. So he's now an ADA, but he was originally a detective. And I'll be a little honest. Karashi, his first couple episodes, he looked like a predator. Oh my gosh. He had the mustache and his hair was all slicked back like to his neck. It was very weird. If I find a picture of it, I'll put it on screen, because it was very scary to look at. And but now he looks a little more normal. But like it's like he Karashi gets on my nerves, because him and his little crush on Rollins, it enters nice guy territory, because like Rollins will just talk to him about something and he'll be like, she was talking to him about moving in with her boyfriend, and so he's like, what, you can't move in. She was like, oh, he asked me to move in with him, and he's like, you told him no, right? Relax, take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, because you're doing too much. He's acting as if they're in a relationship when she's not. She's in a relationship with other people. Like, she was with the doctor. He's like really acting as if they're like together when they're not, sir. You're not, sir. You just have a crush on her. That doesn't mean that she has to like you back. That doesn't mean that she owes something to you. It's very weird. And I don't like Rollins. I'll be the first one to say it. I don't like her. But she doesn't owe anything to you. She doesn't owe any kind of commitment. She doesn't owe any kind of fidelity, because y'all ain't in a relationship. She's single. Go your own way, please, sir. Yeah, but like it does enter nice guy territory, but most times he doesn't bother me. But like next we have Detective Amanda Rollins. I don't like her. she gives racism. She gives racism. Like she was okay. I remember an episode she was making very racist points. I don't remember exactly. Oh, I know what it was. I know what it was. Okay, so the fake Caitlin Bennett, is that her name, Caitlin Bennett? You know, y'all know what I'm talking about, campus girl. She had gotten raped on Law and Order, the fake one, not her. So, they're like, oh, she's racist, and Rollins is like, just because she has differing opinions to the majority doesn't mean that she's wrong. I think she's actually really brave to be so countercultural. Like, ma'am, if you don't sit down, like, what do you mean she's brave to be countercultural? Like, that doesn't even make sense. You're not being countercultural. You're being racist. You're being hateful. And Rollins is over here like, yes, girl. No. It's really sad because then like her best friend on the squad is Ice-T, and all of a sudden they try to make Liv and Rollins friends. I don't think Olivia even likes Rollins. I feel like the only reason why they're friends is because they both have kids. Like, I don't like Rollins. However, you know who I like even less than Rollins? Rollins' whole family. Terrible people. If I never see them again, it'll be way too soon. Her mother, horrible person. Her father, drug addict, alcoholic, bringing it into the home. Sir, he's like, oh, her mother didn't even care if Rollins had a miscarriage because she's over here with the nonsense. And Rollins like passed out and her mother's like, you can have your baby all on your own. Ma'am, I didn't even ask you to come here. Like, who else? The dad bringing in drugs and alcohol into the home and then overdosing. Like, sir, after he's like trying to force himself into her house, he's like, I'll stay in my car if I have to, but I am seeing my grandchildren. No, you're not. You are a danger to yourself and a danger to others because not only are you a drug addict and an alcoholic, however, you are also an abusive person because you were physically abusing her mother. Can we stop with the nonsense? Thank you. You do not have to be in my life. You are toxic. I am cutting you out. And then Rollins just goes and falls for the okie doke. Also, do you know who the worst one is? Like, Rollins' sister. Cannot stand her. Every time she brings her face onto my screen, I'm angry. Like, she's so annoying. Not even annoying. She's a criminal.
I don't know. I just don't think this is like right for me. I don't want to do it. I want to go home. Like, I can't take the pressure of it. But don't you think any job interview...
She like and then like everyone, Ice-T and Liv see it. They see it. But Rollins is like, even Rollins sees it, but she's like, that's my family. I have to help her. No, she set you up for a murder. And then left. And then left. Was doing drugs in your home. And then left. Did drugs, left her kid with a stranger in a pizza shop, did drugs downstairs and overdosed, and then was like, but Amanda can get me out of this. No, I feel like at this point, Amanda would have had her badge taken away from her because this is way too much. There was a dead person. She shot someone in her apartment. Her sister's boyfriend, who she said, if you come near me again, I will shoot you. And then she shot him. Almost lost her badge for that one. And you know what? It was all set up by her sister. And she was for an insurance scam. And then what happened? Oh my gosh. And then she starts she was staying in Amanda's apartment without because Rollins' mom brought the sister into her apartment. Her sister's name is Kim. brought Kim into the apartment when Kim is a fugitive, and she's in her cop sister's apartment. That could get Rollins arrested, harboring a known fugitive. What else? Fired at the very least. And they don't care. They turn on Amanda. They're like, how dare you raise concerns that this crazy person is in your apartment? Now, they, like, every time, okay, I've seen it every single time they have it on the show. Every single time there's someone who is, like, they did it with Elliot's daughter, they did it with another woman who, like, they did it with several characters. But every single time someone is, they make them bipolar. If they're very, like, sexually active, they make them bipolar. And it's, if they do, very off things, they make them bipolar. And, you know, it's very weird because they all have, it's like, some people are just bad people, putting that stigma, because they always put it with people who are doing very bad things. Like Brittany Snow, she guest starred on here, and she set up 3 kids for a rape that they didn't commit, and then they're like, she did it because she's bipolar. What's her name? Kathleen. She was doing drugs. She was breaking into people's homes, and she did it because she's bipolar. Kim, setting up murders, doing insurance scams. You know why she did it? Because she's bipolar. It's a very negative mental health stigma. Like, every single time these people are doing very, very illegal things, it's because they're bipolar. I'm not buying it. Next, we have Nick Amaro. Now, Nick, he is he was Elliot's replacement, Liv's partner for a little bit. Nick got on my nerves, all right? Because he literally is Elliot, but Hispanic. He had the same, like, Catholic fatherhood values, and, he had, like, the same, like, story. The only thing they added was that he had, like, a surprise kid, like, a kid that he didn't know about. But he had his wife leave him and take his kid. He was very physically violent. He was Catholic. He was a father, and fatherhood was a really big thing. His dad was abusive. He was just like Elliot, but Hispanic. And then every single time he'd speak, okay, Nick would be speaking to random people and just start saying Spanish words. And here's the thing. I'm not going to say that every Hispanic doesn't just burst out into Spanish. However, what I am going to say is I'm tired of seeing Hispanics on TV just bursting out into Spanish. I don't do that. My mom doesn't do that. So why is that what's happening on my television screen? They're just like, oh yeah, and then I went across the street and then I came back to mi casa. Can we stop?
Like, stop. It's actually painful to watch.
It makes sense if that's your first language. If, you know what I mean? Because you can't, like, you know, okay, whatever. All right, that's okay. Cool, whatever. But every single Hispanic, no matter what generation you are, you're just bursting into Spanish at any sign and any time of a conversation. You're just like, oh, yeah, mi dormitorio. No, can we stop? Can we stop? No, I don't speak like that. All right, anyways, Nick got on my nerves because he was Elliot, but Hispanic. So it was like, he was just as, like, physically violent, and he got on my nerves just as much, because I liked him at first. But then he just was like, sir, what are we doing? What are we doing? It was very...
Oh my God. Is this who we are? Is this what we represent?
And then he was just, like, gone. So, there was that. Next, now we're into the ADAs. We have Alex, Cabot. Alexandra Cabot. Alexandra Cabot. Alright, so here's the thing. I didn't like Cabot at first. I thought she was good at her job, but I didn't like her attitude. Not attitude, but I didn't like her personality, right? But then something changed. When she got fake murdered, she came back a different person. She went to Africa and was like, oh, I'm gonna help liberate the women there. And that honestly changed her because now she came back radicalized. I might have made that word up. Who knows? Maybe it's a word. Who knows? Doesn't really matter, but you know what I'm trying to say. She came back a different person. She was doing good things, and Liv is like, but those things are illegal. So what she was doing, the illegal things in question was she was taking abused women and their children, and she was giving them a safe haven, kind of like an underground or a witness protection. No, the Underground Railroad one was a different episode, but like a witness protection before battered women, because she said when she was a DA, she's like, I noticed like the amount of time sometimes juries come back saying that the husband didn't do anything wrong, and because the woman pressed charges, then he ends up killing her. And honestly, Alex was right. Liv was wrong. And I don't think anything that Liv said was gonna make me think different, because she's like, but the law. Liv, it's a fictional television show. Break the law all we want. It has nothing to do with the real world. And of course, technically, to them, that's the real world, but I don't care. Break the law as much as you want, Alex. You're doing good things. And like, notice how Liv didn't arrest Alex? Even though she knew she was participating in criminal activity? Is that not illegal, Liv? Are you doing your job correctly, Liv? Whatever. And then the woman that Alex was trying to protect, when her husband finds out that she pressed charges on him, he kills her. And Alex is like, you see what happened? I told you. And Liv is like, oops. But yeah, I ended up liking Alex after she left. I didn't really care for her when she was there. But after she got fake killed, she was okay in my book. Casey. I don't remember her last name. Casey Sawyer, Casey something. I don't remember her last name. But what I do know is I didn't like her at all. Casey, like, I just didn't like her. She had a very like snooty vibe, and then it like turned out that okay, this got on my nerves. So what happened was, Casey had a fiance who was schizophrenic, and so he started getting like violent or something, and so she ended up leaving him, and then she found out that he was homeless, and then she found out that he had died. So then she feels like a soft spot for people with, I think, like mental illnesses, but specifically schizophrenia. And so they end up throwing that back in her face. They're like, like, I think it was Liv. Liv gets on my nerves sometimes. The nonsense she does, especially when some of her friends and whatever break the law all the time. But Liv reports her to the DA and is like, her boyfriend her ex-boyfriend was schizophrenic, and now she has a soft spot for it. Now she feels empathetic for people who have a mental illness. Fire her. Casey eventually gets disbarred because she lied to a judge, but then apparently she wasn't disbarred. So yeah, there was that. Was there anything else about her character? No, she was alright. Okay. Next we have Barba, the most interesting DA in my opinion, the best DA, my favorite one, at least from Special Victims. So here's the thing about Barba. Nick hated him, right? Because he's Hispanic, like Nick. However, he went to Yale or something. And so Nick hates him because he's like, you should have stayed in your neighborhood.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
Why? He's saying he should have, like, and then they, once again, the Hispanics just break out into Spanish thing happens with Barba a little too often for my liking. But, like, he just, like, Nick just, like, doesn't like Barba because he's like, you forgot your roots. Sir, you only see me at work. Leave me alone. I don't get what he wants from him. Like, okay. What is he even talking about? Because here's the thing. Barba still has all of his friends from when from where he grew up. Like, he still talks to them, he still hangs out with them. He was still cool with them. And then Nick is like, but still, you are a sellout because you went to Yale. And this was like a real point of conflict. I feel like Dick Wolf was like, yes, this is how Hispanics feel about other Hispanics. This is how they look at each other. You go to Yale, sell out. Sir, if you don't stop it, because like, what are you even talking about? Why are you even telling him this? Like, he's foolishness. Barba, okay. So, Barba killed a baby and was acquitted because it was a mercy killing. The baby was like deaf and blind, and so it wasn't even his baby. He was just killing it. He'd unplugged the cord, and he was just like, and then he goes like to live like, suddenly my world wasn't just black and white. Suddenly there were grays, and then there were greens, and blues, and yellows, and reds. I've become you, Liv. Liv's never killed a baby. Oh. But Liv never has killed a baby, so I don't get what he's talking about. Liv doesn't just go around being a vigilante, so I don't get what he's talking about. So please don't compare me to you and your baby killing ways. Sorry. Next we have my least favorite ADA, Mr. Peter Stone. Can't stand him. And you know why? It's not because he does bad things, not because I don't like his person. Not because I don't like, not because I think he's like snooty or whatever, but I don't like him because you can replace him with a piece of white bread and it's the same level of personality, same level of blandness, same level of character. All he does is sleep with women and drink. What? Can we stop? Like, it's a very, like, what are we, it's like, why are we, like, like, all he does is sleep around and, drink beer. And, okay, I guess he was grieving, right? Because his sister had gotten killed. But, like, he just kept doing it. And I didn't really care. They're like, oh, look, he's gone to the dark side or whatever. Like, I don't care about him. I don't care about his life. He's boring. And then he was like a baseball player, and he was also an ADA. And I'm just kind of like, sir, where do you find the time to go to law school and be a baseball player? Like, I just don't think it's believable. Like, I'm sure maybe someone somewhere has done it. However, because, like, he's also, like, a famous baseball player. Because people see him and are like, oh, see him and are like, oh my gosh, you played for the Cubs. So, my thoughts are, I feel like it's a little too fictional character-y. I think it's a little too, like, can we be a little more realistic? I don't think it's, like, you're going down two very lucrative career paths. Like, how are you both a baseball player and an assistant district attorney? I don't think that makes any sense. And I was kind of happy to see him leave because he was very, like, boring. And then I was like, I think they were trying to set him up with Liv. That would have grossed me out. Speaking of Liv's boyfriends, can we talk about Tucker for a second? He's been old since the show began, and Liv was young at the beginning of the show. So why on earth were they dating each other? It looked like her and her father. It was gross, and it was very, like, it was disgusting. And, like, people are like, oh, why did she date him when he kept, like, meddling in her and Elliot's business and trying to send them to prison? Because they do very illegal things. This is excusing police behavior. And these people probably have BLM in their profile pictures. Can we stop with the excusing illegal behavior when it comes from a police officer? Because Elliot needs to rot in jail.
So what's your sentence for her?
Electric chair.
And I will die on that hill. That is... Elliot needs to be in prison. He needs to be in prison. I remember he spent like 3 hours in solitary confinement. Worst montage of my life. Did I hit everything? Okay. So, yes, that is everything wrong with SVU, and there's probably plenty of more things, but these are the things that I decided I wanted to highlight. So, like, comment, share, subscribe. My Instagram will probably be somewhere on the screen, like, so follow me there. Sign my petition in the comments. I'll probably have my last video here, a different video here, and my channel here. So, yeah. Alright. See you guys next week. Bye.